Hello and welcome to a special broadcast that we're bringing to you just a few hundred meters is Gaza behind me. It's day 18 of Israel's operations against the Hamas. Suspense continues to build over whether a ground operation, an all-elusive ground invasion of Gaza is going to happen and whether it's even feasible for Israel. I've been here for the last few days reporting from across Israel and the Palestinian territories to bring you frontline war reportage of what's going to happen. Over the next half hour, everything that's been happening on day 18.
Israeli tanks and troops enter Gaza. Full-blown invasion next. From Gaza Frontline.
Special Forces warriors of the kind depicted in shows like Fauda are inside the Gaza Strip conducting a first wave of operations against the Hamas.
To West Bank.
This ancient church usually bears a look on this square when thousands upon thousands of tourists and pilgrims, this Palestinian city under control of the Palestinian Authority is completely empty.
Most exhaustive coverage of the war with Shiv Aroor, live from the war zone.
The situation is most definitely heating up on the Gaza front lines. A couple of days ago, I had access to a hill that overlooked Gaza by just a few hundred meters. Today, that hill is completely cut off because it's been taken over by the army. All access points are difficult to access. This particular stretch of highway still overlooks Gaza, and that's Gaza in the background just a few hundred meters behind me. It's become a situation that is precarious. Lots of tanks, lots of M109 howitzer artillery guns, lots of armored personnel carriers line different pockets of this highway that we've been traveling on that runs parallel to the Gaza Strip. As we've been reporting here on India Today, the ground operation that everyone is so curious about, there's so much suspense about, has already actually begun. Commandos, as we speak, are inside Gaza conducting covert operations and assassination operations of Hamas operatives. But the big question is, when will there be a large-scale invasion, if any, of Gaza? Now, our information is that things are going to be much more calibrated than the two occasions in the past when Israel has invaded Gaza. Once in 2009 and then again in 2014. As per our understanding, after speaking with many experts, both serving and retired in the Israeli Defense Forces, this time everything has changed. All calculations have gone out of the window. Israel no longer has the appetite, perhaps, for a long-scale invasion where an end game or an exit strategy isn't in sight. Having said that, Israel is super focused on at least one big result, and that is the complete decimation of Hamas. But that continues to be easier said than done. From here on the ground with Gaza right behind me, the situation continues to remain tense because the army and the Israeli Defense Forces, who've been pounding Gaza, both from the air and from the sea, now wonder whether a large-scale ground invasion is actually going to result in the end game of the obliteration of Hamas. Quite apart from the fact that a major chunk of the Hamas leadership is sitting abroad in safe havens like Qatar and Iran, there is no real guarantee that the cutting edge of the Hamas has all been destroyed. Yes, it's true that many anti-tank commanders, many planning commanders have been killed in Gaza, the northern part of Gaza, which is actually visible right behind me. But the fact that the Hamas, at least visibly, continues to have its potency to attack. They're still using anti-tank weapons. They're still using drones with bombs. They still have their eyes on every move that the Israeli military is making. And remember that 18 days after that terror attack, in areas very close to the stretch I'm standing in, where a large number of the massacres took place and a large number of the hostages were taken, the Hamas is ever better prepared for whatever's coming before it. The hostage crisis inside Gaza continues to expand. Contrary to popular belief, the release of 2 and now 4 hostages has not alleviated tensions. It has only galvanized Israel even further. Will that push them into a large-scale ground invasion is the big question to ask. I'm in the city of Stero, which has been turned into a ghost town because this is the city of rocket shelters, a place that has been devastated, and everywhere there are empty houses. But in Israel, you can't walk very far without bumping into someone who's been part of the military and who has family who's in the military. I'm joined now by this gentleman who's with me here in Stero, who's not only been a part of the Israel army, but you have two sons,
I have two sons
in the Israel army. Tell me about that, sir.
I have two boys. They are basically in normal life. One of them is one of the top barmen in the country, and the other one is also manages a restaurant in Jerusalem. And on that terrible Saturday morning, they were called up after the initial attacks by the barbarian people. And they had to, at very short notice, go into...
Walk with me, yes.
Yeah. Had to go into the army.
Because you're a parent, you're a soldier, yes, but you're also a father. Israel is contemplating a ground offensive now. You obviously have mixed feelings. You're proud of your sons. You know they're going to do their duty. But this is a scary time. Take us through what kinds of emotions you feel right now.
There isn't a night that we've had in the last 2 weeks where we've slept. Every single alarm on our phone goes off at any time in the night, and we're worried about that they're going to be going in. We know that they have to go in because we have to get rid of this absolute bunch of monsters from the earth, right? If we all see what they've done, they're people that have kidnapped babies, our babies. They're absolutely horrendous things that they've done to us. And yes, there's definitely mixed feelings because you don't want your children to get hurt. But we have to finish this for the world.
As we speak, Special Forces warriors of the kind depicted in shows like Fauda are inside the Gaza Strip conducting a first wave of operations against the Hamas. We've got more details of what things are actually looking like in our reporting right along the Gaza frontline. Watch this report.
One of Israel's most famous TV shows, often depicting commando-style incursions into the Gaza Strip, are coming true in the real conflict. While the world sits on tenterhooks ahead of an expected ground invasion of the 41-kilometer-long patch of Palestinian territory, Israel's special forces have already begun surgical attacks in northern Gaza. India today has learned that Israel's ground invasion will be like nothing else it has done in the past. Let's take you step by step through how this is likely to play out. The Israeli Air Force on Monday struck 400 separate targets in northern Gaza, claiming to kill several military-style commanders of Hamas. With the Israeli fighters smashing target after target and depleting the ground alertness of the Hamas, the Israeli Special Forces received a brief window to move in. There is reason to believe that these Special Forces men will conduct lightning-fast targeted strikes on Hamas operatives known to be hiding in civilian areas that the Israeli Air Force does not want to risk bombing. But it isn't just the commandos in action. Israel's formidable armored strength, a vast fleet of Merkava tanks and infantry vehicles also have their engines on, making tracks at Gaza's doorstep.
A limited ground offensive has already begun. But before that, I want to tell you that the last 24 hours have been among the most aggressive so far in this particular crisis. Israel Defense Forces, who I'm in touch with, say that they've struck 400 Hamas targets in the Gaza Strip in just the last 24 hours. They not only targeted rocket positions, but also an escape tunnel that was going towards the sea. Meanwhile, Israeli Defense Forces have entered the Gaza Strip in a small way with some tanks ready for an imminent invasion that the world is on tenterhooks about.
While official information is typically scant on specifics, it is safe to say that at least some tanks have already rolled into Gaza, though they remain at distance from the Gaza city, the first big urban center on the Strip when approached from the north. More tanks could roll in soon. India Today's reporters in southern Israel have found Israel's artillery regiments in non-stop practice firing mode, with shells likely to soon be aimed into Gaza. But Israel's enemy isn't to be taken lightly. Despite 18 days and thousands of bombs dropped, the Hamas continues to have the capacity to hit back. On Sunday, Hamas terrorists fired an anti-tank missile at an Israeli position, killing a young soldier. While Hamas anti-tank positions will prove a major challenge, with reason to believe that the group is still receiving arms from Iran, the big new threat that faces the Israeli army is armed drones. Hamas has demonstrated its ISIS-like use of grenade-dropping drones, which, if deployed in numbers, could devastate elements of the Israeli ground operation. Israel knows well that such a complex mission cannot be conducted only by tanks, and even those are at risk from missiles and mines. Under all of this is a vast network of Hamas tunnels that continue to largely be out of reach of Israeli strikes, possibly allowing Hamas to maintain a minimum capability even if its overground strength is decimated in the ongoing attacks. American intelligence via the CIA and military assets from the USS Gerald Ford aircraft carrier battle group are also lending a hand with airborne and ground intelligence for a prospective Israeli operation in Gaza. The biggest phase of this war may be dead ahead. With Shiv Aroor on the Israel-Gaza frontline, Bureau Report, India Today.
Israel has conducted full-scale invasions of Gaza on two occasions in the past, once in 2009 and once in 2014. In 2009, the ground invasion lasted 15 days. In 2014, it lasted 19 days. This time, if it happens, how long is it going to last? Because the big question is, in the event of a post-conflict vacuum in Gaza, is Israel prepared? Does it have the stomach to take on the burden of governing what happens in Gaza? Here are some of the lessons from the past.
Israel prepares for ground invasion of Gaza. More than 1 million Gazans have fled their homes as the big escalation in the war on Hamas comes close.
The plumes of smoke that you see rising right behind me, and let me try and show you those plumes of smoke rising in that area right in front of you, there and there. Now, according to the Israeli army, these are strongholds of Hamas that are being targeted. This is where Hamas has leadership, operational bases, logistics centers, and also foxholes or mouth of the tunnel. Now, the mouth of the tunnels are being destroyed.
There is massive Israeli troop and tanks deployment along the Gaza Strip. In 18 years since their withdrawal from the Gaza Strip, Israel has invaded Gaza twice. The first time in January 2009, Operation Cast Lead involved a 15 days ground invasion. And then in 2014, Operation Protective Edge lasted 19 days. A third ground invasion in response to the massacre of over 1,400 civilians by Hamas on the 7th of October is imminent. It's likely to be bigger and even more violent than anything in the past. Given Israel's stated stance to finish the Hamas, the operation this time could last much longer. Military experts are debating the nature of invasion and what could be Israel's strategy as it uses its overwhelming strength on ground, at sea and in the air. During the 2009 invasion, there was a debate over whether to reoccupy the territory and destroy Hamas. There was a similar debate during 2014 ground invasion. During the 2014 ground operations that cost more Israeli lives than in 2009. With Hamas now equipped with newer weapons and possible stockpiles of anti-tank missiles, shoulder-fired surface-to-air missiles, rockets and improvised explosive devices, it could be a challenging task for Israel to destroy the Hamas network completely. The Israeli armed forces are up against a terror group that has trained for years and is hardened in urban combat and possibly wargamed such an invasion for years. Bureau Report, India Today.
India Today is the only channel with war reporters reporting from all sides of this conflict. We've been reporting voices within Palestine as well. I personally visited Jenin yesterday in the north part of the West Bank, Palestinian territories, where airstrikes took place last Sunday, very rare. And then we went to Bethlehem, one of the holiest sites of Christianity. Not many people knew that Bethlehem, the birthplace of Jesus Christ, is on Palestinian territory. 2 weeks before Christmas, you'd expect, and it normally is a town thronged with worshippers. What I found was a ghost town.
10 kilometers south of Jerusalem, under Palestinian Authority, is the city of Bethlehem in West Bank. The birthplace of Jesus Christ, this is the holiest Christian site in the world. As the Israel-Hamas war escalates, India Today travelled from Tel Aviv to Bethlehem.
Millions of people know this, but millions of people definitely don't. Where I'm reporting from today is in the West Bank. This is Palestinian territory. The city is Bethlehem, which may be a name familiar to you. It certainly is to millions of Christians all around the world, because this city on Palestinian soil is the birthplace of Jesus Christ.
A bustling pilgrim site, Bethlehem now resembles a ghost town.
This is entirely Palestinian territory. The city of Bethlehem, is an ancient city. This is the Church of Nativity, where Jesus Christ was born. So this is the holiest of sites as far as Christians are concerned. We're told that thousands upon thousands of people throng here every single day. At this time of year, which is just ahead of the Christmas season especially, people come from all over the world, to go into the Church of Nativity. But as you can see, it's completely empty right now. And all of the people we've been speaking to here, Palestinians, locals and others, a stray number of visitors, they all say that, this is extremely sad, but the safety of people usually trumps, devotion and religiosity. And that's the reason why at this time people have decided to go. Just a few days before October the 7th, this entire square was completely full of people. I'm told there wasn't even room to move here on a usual day, and especially before the Christmas season.
Since at least the 2nd century AD, people have believed that the place where the Church of the Nativity now stands is where Jesus was born. 2 months before Christmas, an eerie silence looms over the Church of the Nativity.
Usually you're saying that this square, Jose, this square which I see around me, you're saying this is completely full of people.
Full of people, and it was, even we don't get a parking space here because of the tourists coming to Bethlehem for the pilgrimage. So visit the Nativity Church, where is the birthplace of Jesus Christ.
Bethlehem relies heavily on tourism, and the escalation on the borders is taking a toll on the locals here.
We were reporting from Jenin earlier today. There was an airstrike there. We do know there have been casualties in different parts of the West Bank. Are people here insulated from that, or are they also affected?
People in Bethlehem is also affected because there is no tourism. Bethlehem depends completely on tourism.
Yeah.
So most of the restaurants is closed in Bethlehem. People don't go for shopping much.
Yeah, yeah.
And the prices of the vegetables and meat, everything has gone up.
Yeah.
So people are not spending any money and they're sitting at home.
Bethlehem in West Bank has witnessed several conflicts in the past and has remained untouched till now.
Usually, before also all the wars I was here, and religious places is not affected, and there is no any missile attack on the religious places.
Yeah.
So tourists are 100% safe when they come to visit the religious places in Israel.
And there's a message that also goes out, to tourists and pilgrims. Thank you, Jose, for speaking to us about places of worship. And I can tell you that I've been reporting through the West Bank today, and it is positively peppered with sites of religious importance to Christians, to Muslims. People come from all over the world. The Al-Aqsa Mosque that's there in Jerusalem, that has been the center of the Israel-Palestine conflict as well. But it is pretty saddening. And if you especially compare this particular courtyard in front of the Church of Nativity, the birthplace of Jesus Christ, with how it usually is, this is a very sad tale. But that's how it goes. That's what that is the impact of conflict. 2 months before Christmas, if the Church of Nativity has no lines, no sea of humanity waiting to get in there to see baby Jesus, then that tells you everything you really need to know about the nature of conflict and the nature of war. Shiv Aroor in Bethlehem, in the Palestinian territories, in the West Bank, for India Today. Thank you for watching this special broadcast. Gaza continues to burn. The humanitarian crisis continues to peak. 400 airstrikes in just the last 24 hours is proof that Israel is not going to be backing down. This is Shiv Aroor signing out, but I promise to bring you the very latest from Israel in the days ahead. Thanks very much for watching. The news continues here on India Today.